are back at it and a little bit early. We'll have to see just how long it takes the players to actually get ready in the lobby,
Well,
because
you know.
we don't count those chickens until, or those eggs until they've hatched. But it's me, Jolly, and I'm back with Alls again. Earlier today, Alls, we covered CCG going up against Beagle Brothers, and it was a pretty close game, or seemingly, and Beagle Brothers ended up taking that one. They had a late game comp that worked out pretty well for them. So CCG is looking to kind of take something back. But why don't you kind of talk to us about maybe some of the other games that were going on in the background and what the current standings look like?
Gosh, I've been playing League for too long. I don't think of 25, 30 minutes as being late game. When I think late game, I think, old school Korean games where we're going 60, 70 minutes, but
No,
what a
thank God
time
it's
to
not
be
that.
alive. Well, all jokes aside, we're seeing a few upsets here in the OQs. The first 6 teams, Mirage, Winthrop, Team Ambition, Lethal Intentions, Miracle, and Komodo, all took wins in round 1. However, Cheese Chasers, CCG, and Froggy 5, that's the 7, 8, and 9 seeds, fell to Havoc, Beagle Brothers, and Palisades. Other notable upsets, UCXD managed to pull out over Aporia, Infusion managed to find a win, Single Target Healing and CB Gaming also won their matches. So a pretty even split between expected victories and upsets here, which tells me that a lot of these teams are playing at fairly good parity. Lots of skill all across the bracket here.
Yeah, for sure. And when it comes to a Swiss bracket like this, the expectation after the first game or two, right, is that the top portion, like the top third essentially, is probably going to stay on the side of, the top seed. And then as it gets closer to the bottom of that bracket, we're looking a little back and forth. I do really like, you brought up the Cheese Chasers, CCG, and Froggy 5. Of course, we covered CCG going down to, I mean, these are single digit teams going over to, teams that definitely aren't that high up. It sounds like we are ready for draft though. So let's swing it over to that. But I like in that little in that Excel sheet, you've got, the chunk of just this chunk right in the middle, that 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. And then like 24, 25, 26, or 23, 24, 25. It's an interesting parallel to see. So that middle of the pack right now is really volatile. And that's a really good sign for the way that this bracket might develop.
Yeah, and it comes a lot back to what you mentioned at the top of the cast here of these are a lot of new faces. These are faces that the committee, when they were seeding this bracket originally, didn't necessarily know what was going to come out here. So we're seeing these surprises, we're seeing these upsets because it's these players that we haven't seen before. So yeah, gives a lot of good hope here towards the health of the amateur scene.
Yeah, we've said for a while now that, like, oh, we've got emerging faces. This, at least for somebody who's been involved in the amateur CLOL Proving Ground scene for the last, 3-4 years, this is by far the most new faces I've ever seen. And yeah, maybe we took a few tumbles to get here, right? But I like to see these opportunities for some players. It gives them more, not just of a chance to, understand how to play at a professional level, but also to figure out whether or not it's something that they really want to do. When you're talking about a lot of collegiate players, we'll talk to them and they might be the best on their team. And they're like, I don't want to do this professionally. I'm just doing it, for college, or I'm doing it for fun kind of thing. And now NACL is really what kind of makes or breaks that, right? You're investing a whole lot into this if you're going to be on one of these teams. So you really have a chance to shine and show off. And I do love that, like I said, that 7, 8, 9 chunk of teams going down. All of them having players that I'm very familiar with over the last couple of years, going down to teams that I don't know any of the names of. And it's exciting to start to build those stories.
Yeah, it does look like we're still waiting on a couple of folks to get ready for draft here. I do want to call attention as we're waiting to Tempest, because with a lot of these new players, we're seeing a lot of new play styles. For example, White Snow, the top laner for Tempest, who is an unashamed Rengar one-trick. Not something you see a lot of in the top lane.
Not unashamed Rengar? Absolutely, that's not a lot you see anywhere.
Well, you got me there.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, players like that where they're bringing something completely new to the table. You don't see Rengar top. You don't see this in, high-level LCS, LCK kind of teams, because they're focused on, what's the meta. But as we've been saying, with Season 13 being so free, we're able to see more of that. And it's just a lot of fun to me.
It is. It's a lot of fun. That's what someone I was talking about in the last matchup was, just the fact that Riot has established kind of this game now that is, you can almost one trick anyone, right? If you spend enough time, it's all about practice. It's all about getting good, right? It's all about investing your time and effort into it. And that's what they've been working on. So it's not just about the meta anymore. And that means that we're going to see some pretty spicy picks, especially with how many changes that we've had and all of the, mid-patch updates, all of these small patches and hot fixes that we've gotten as well, right? It's like, we're staying on this, right? Anybody gets too powerful, we are tweaking that because it's no holds barred. Anybody can play anybody and should be able to find success as long as they do it well, right? And as long as they're focusing on win conditions, which CCG didn't do very well, I will say, against Beagle Brothers. They went in with Lucian and the Nami. No early pressure. Munchie was on the Wukong. No early pressure. In fact, so I need to see better positioning, but I need to see if CCG is going to take something really aggressive like that early game. You have to double down. You have to commit. Otherwise, you're sacrificing the game.
Yeah, you have to play to your players' strengths here, and CCG either wasn't aware of how their players wanted to play, or they were just drafting based off of theory, but somehow the players and the draft became unglued there. We definitely need to see more, as we see a Cassante blue 1 here. That's a very aggressive pick. Could be to either of the solo lanes, but still not something you necessarily see this early on in the draft.
I'm on the other side. I'm used to seeing this. First pick Cassante. Early pick Cassante. Cassante is one of those few that it's like, okay, no matter what Riot does, tweaking the numbers, his kid is just busted, right? His kid is really aggressive.
Yeah,
he's got
that's
really
fair.
good early damage. And then when it gets later into the game, his sustainability, survivability is nuts, and his damage continues to scale and ramp up. So I think that's a really good pick here for TPG. It is going to be on the other side for CCG, the instant lock-in of the Wukong in response. So that's Munchie doubling down. There's always a possibility for flex. When I first started playing the game, I made Wukong top for a while because it was just nasty. But I would be incredibly surprised to see that anywhere other than the jungle. So CCG kind of coming out with a hand revealed.
Yeah, I will say, for the first about 3.5 minutes of the game, Munchie was getting good pressure in the jungle. They were bullying the Kindred a little bit. They were getting some good aggression down. They had the lane advantage, but they didn't turn that. If we're going to see Munchie on the Wukong again, I need to see them start to develop their lead into something meaningful, whether that's ganking more, whether that's really crushing down onto Ultan here for Tempest in the jungle. Just gotta make something of this Wukong as opposed to just letting it exist.
Yeah, and while it's good to get that harassing down early, it actually didn't even gain anything for the team. So while it's commendable that he had some early harass, he didn't get any kills off it. He didn't steal any camps. The one thing he got was the scuttle that he was able to walk in and smite, but that was just a convenience thing, right? So not only do we need to see more focus on that, just sincerely, when we're talking about how you're utilizing your time in the jungle right now, if you're not using it wisely, you are sacrificing a lot for your team. And I felt like most of that game, Munchie was just trying to be like, haha, I got you, poke, I got you. Now you have to run away, but nobody's gonna die. And the Beagle brothers on the other side were like, okay, we're actually focusing on these win cons and how to approach these fights. So that's my main thing. I really need like sincerely a recalibration kind of thing from Munchie here, and just go back, take a step back, say, all right, I'm jungle. I need to facilitate something for these other lanes, not just kind of run around and be a monkey.
Sure. Speaking of running around, though, we saw great play out of Shocky in Game 1 on the Olaf. Another hyper carry in the top lane with the Gwen. I like this too, because if they're not going to win the early game, they need to have some late game insurance, and Gwen is absolutely that. To put your best performing player onto a hyper carry like Gwen is a good look for me, especially with an Aphelios, which, it's not Lucian. It's not going to win early, but once you hit 2-3 items, will really start to be helpful there.
And that's how CCG played in a very stally kind of way in the last series. So this gives them a bit more of a chance to do that, right? The scaling, the ramping, even for Gwen. Gwen's one of those champs. Even if she falls behind, she can be behind and still maintain herself in a late game fight. still provide a lot of damage and still not go down in moments. That's the big thing. Honestly, CCG right now and TP, actually, both of these teams right now are picking pretty strong meta picks. While I just talked about the fact that meta is not as big of a deal, it does still exist, obviously, right? There are still certain champions that just have a kit that is more useful. Syndra has been a very good one, and actually, Syndra was run yesterday for CCG. Of course, again, it was a different team. It was Radar on that one, but we've seen some really good Syndra play already coming out of CCG. And it looks like Caspian is going to lock in the Jace there.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, and it will. Oh, thank you, production. The Syndra was also against a Jace mid last night, so it's a replay.
Yeah, it could go either way. We could still technically see the Varus mid. It hasn't been as common recently, but still technically on the table, Nile Mars does have the option there. So we could see some flex out of TPG if they want. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, probably not now. Not with the Karma lock. I mean,
Season 13, anything's possible.
It's true. Just get the kill lane going down to the bottom. Karma's great in the mid lane. Karma's really strong still, I think. I'll say the amount of crowd control that we got on CCG is a lot more, it offers more of an opportunity for Munchie to get in there and be able to cyclone to allow the rest of the team to pick up damage, because we saw a lot of engages by Munchie, a lot of cyclones that got really good pops, but the damage just wasn't quite there, and the crowd control wasn't quite there to stack on top of that. So I like this one a little bit better, but it is going to take a little bit more time, and we already know CCG has that patience to wait to the late game. We'll have to see how TPG did, because we didn't get to see them play their first game. And actually, let me take a look real quick and see that they lost to Winthrop. Okay. Yeah, well, that's, yeah. Okay, well, we won't really talk about that one as much then.
They played Winthrop fairly close, according to the results. Only lost 22-17.
How long, does it say how long the game was?
28 and a half.
Okay.
They played fairly well on the back of Ultan on the Wukong, actually.
Nice.
So Ultan, knowing how to play the Wukong, should be able to know how to play around it and direct their team accordingly.
Maybe that's part of the reason then that it was a first lock-in by CCG. It was something that they wanted to keep for themselves and keep away from TPG. That's a good piece of information right there, actually. Where do you see that? What was that? Why don't I have that?
Here, I will find it and send it along to you here.
Yeah, give me the good stuff. There. Speaking of good stuff, I really like Gwen for this team. I really like Gwen, and I really like Cinder for this team. TPG, though, they got a lot of good chances. It's a little more particular. It's a little more situational. But I like how even this is seeming. I don't really have a strong, heavy, I'm not leaning heavily towards either side in terms of compositions. I think both of them are pretty well-rounded here. And there's no way, hold on. All right, hold on. That's it? All right. We got the Jace top and we got the Cassante mid.
All right.
Okay. I guarantee that this is because the Gwen pickup, right? Cassante into the Gwen compared to Cassante into somebody like a Syndra. Totally. And actually, I'm surprised I didn't think about it before, because Jace is one of those classic counters for early Gwen. I just threw my pen. I got it.
Yeah, I mean, the Jace is very powerful early, but for this CCG team, in Game 1, they showed that they weren't exactly playing for early game. And with their draft here, they seem to be indexing very much towards that 20, 25, 30 minutes into the game, not so much the early game. So if Shocky can hold out and let themselves scale, White Snow is going to fall off in effectiveness. The Jace is going to become significantly less valuable here, and CCG is going to just have more and more power, more win conditions here in the top side.
We have another, we could send it a break. Honestly, there's more we could talk about here. So, but we have another chance now for the Maokai. We had a discussion before the last game, before the last series, because the Maokai was picked up there by Realms, who was the top laner for Beagle Brothers. And it didn't work out. And the conversation that we had at the beginning was me talking about how I don't really like Maokai, how even when he's really high up on the meta tier list and stuff like that, everybody's like, he's so powerful. I just feel like I don't know, is a little lackluster. Like I said, maybe
Sure.
it's the fact that I think his passive is a bit weak. We didn't really see him get the chance to pop off in the last one, so now we've got a new opportunity. It's not a top lane Maokai, it's going to be the Maokai in the jungle to maybe show me that Maokai is better than the games that I've played have made him out to be here. So that's going to be interesting. But I think the bigger question here now, I'll ask you about, where we're seeing first blood for this one so we can make predictions on that. But the bigger question here, I guess, is this going to be another slow game like we saw? Both of these teams now are later game. So that actually kind of puts a lot of pressure on to get some early game advantage, right? What do you think is going to happen here in the early game for either of these teams?
Well, we're obviously going to see the heavy pressure in the top side. White Snow on the Jace will have the lane advantage. I don't think Munchie is going to be able to get much of a pressure in the jungle. The Maokai can absorb a lot of that and stay healthy with his clear, so we won't be seeing much from that. I think if we see any main advantages, it's going to be in the bot lane. This Varus Karma trying to be hyper poke, keeping this early Aphelios Nautilus from being able to engage. Like we saw last game, CCG doesn't like to pull the trigger in the bot lane early, so if Ultan can come down, make use of the early poke and early lockdown from the Karma tether, we could see some early kills there and some early pressure as well, getting their major damage threat ahead.
All right, that leads into the question I alluded to earlier. Where are we seeing first blood? And do you have any? Yeah. Do you have any? Do you think it's going to be like a level 3 engage, like super early, or do you think it's going to be a little bit later?
I think it'll be after Scuttles. I think we're going to see both Scuttles taken, and then we're going to see Ultan rotate down.
Okay, so that's pretty standard. So basically the level 3 hit, and then come down to the river to make your move there. Yeah. That's honestly what I've been finding. That seriously level 3 engage. It's massive. It's huge. It's expected now towards the bottom side. But if you've got high mobility, which we do for Munchie, we didn't really see the clone used in a way for him to make any sneaky plays. Really, the clone was just utilized to get that second pop of Cyclone off, like in the middle of a team fight. He very rarely used clone for a secret engage or disengage or something like that. I want to see something like that. I know I'm asking so much from Munchie. I'm like, Munchie, do 5 things for me and I'll be happy. Munchie didn't perform poorly in the first game. I couldn't quite figure out his game plan, his story here. And I want to be able to follow it because it's going to get really important as we get further and further into this qualifier.
Yeah, and Munchie is one of the highest ranked players on this CCG team, over 1,200 points in Challenger. You have to expect them to carry a lot of the weight for CCG. So I agree. I would like to see more out of Munchie. I know we're asking a lot of him, but that's because as a jungler, you take on a lot of weight.
Alrighty, we skip right over the break, folks. We could have sent it to one, but we can always talk. That's what we're paid to do.
Talking's important.
I agree. I've got a lot to say beforehand so that I can either tell myself I'm right or wrong. We are heading straight into the game, though. This is the second game of the day for CCG. That means that CCG is going to try to pull this one back and make the day into a 1-1 instead of an 0-2. But Tempest Gaming has the same idea here as they are in the same position in this Swiss bracket. So let's get to it. Tempest Gaming on the blue side, CCG once again on the red side. Our final game of the day here, alls.
Yeah, I know I've casted too many low elo games here, but whenever I see a Nautilus, I expect a 5-man group to try and find a cheeky kill in the early game. No such luck from CCG as Boruto's just gonna go get some early vision here, but it does warm my heart when we see some of those fiestas before minions even spawn.
Especially in these best of ones, because that's the cheeky play. That's you're dedicating, you're potentially sacrificing something that could push the opposing team into that snowball that both of these teams really want. But you also have the chance to get yourself rolling early, and there's nothing like getting the momentum of that early game kill and going to lane and being like, oh yeah, look at me, I'm ahead, right? I was able to get a ward.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised they're taking the safe route.
Yeah, but on the Nautilus too, where you can really afford to use that flash between having the Dredge line and the Hex Flash, if you could get a couple of summoner spells off of Caspian or Dusam here, it would be so valuable. And A, make it harder for Ultan to gank, and B, make it easier for Munchie to. So it's a trade-off, obviously, and CCG chose to play it carefully, as they've chosen to play carefully in Game 1. Lunar, not careful, paying for it with half their health bar. That's not what you want to see before you even hit level 2.
Yeah, that was so much damage. Oh my god, wait, hold on. The dredge line hit. Alright, that's alright, it's alright. Don't worry, production. We know you're working. We know you're working your butt off back there. We appreciate you. Appreciate you, Gurf. Yeah, so the dredge line hit. So that's at least some little bit of recourse there on to that is I don't get to say Jean-Francois or DS Sam 69. Of course, Caspian is going to be that. Nile Mars. All the rest are the same. And then we're gonna regard, Pussy Poo or whatever is Munchie. That's how we'll call him. And then of course the numbers is Rain. So if anybody gets confused, that's who we're talking about.
I'm wondering if that is when this account was created for Rain, because that is about 2 weeks ago. Potentially seeing how quickly they can climb to Challenger here.
What are you, like European? Who? What? The year 572, 20th month of the, or 23rd day of the 20th month.
Yeah, I mean it's.
I get it. You're first.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
So,
Got around to it. Just took a moment.
Are you gonna switch up? We're not gonna be talking about Timo spaces. We're gonna be doing meters here.
No.
We still talking Timos.
The
okay,
correct
good.
unit for League is
Good. We
Timos.
still
Yeah.
talking Timos.
No.
All right, excellent. Okay.
I spent too many years as a Timo one trick. I know how many
Oh,
Timos
I
things
was
are.
gonna compliment you, commend you, and then I have to. It's instantly just quashed in my head. Like, yeah.
No, understandable. I understand. I get no respect for that. I know where I am judged.
All right. There we go. We got a blip.
Yep.
That's just Riot testing us, but we shall not fail. That's a good
Yeah.
engage on to Shocky. White Snow able to get the knockback, the E, and avoid as well. That snip. Here's going to be the first gank that we're seeing, the Fog of War. Shocky's got to be really careful. White Snow is back far enough to stay alive, but Maokai is also heading up.
They see him on the ward though.
Now-
Shocky managing to get that down in time. They don't know about
They don't know
Milchi.
he's there. They did. Oh, but you know what? It's pretty easy to throw a sapling and go in. Rutro is going to flash. There's the ignite as well that goes down. It was the passive of the dredge line. But poking down this Karma is definitely a good call. Poking down the Karma and then trying to get as much mana out of Varus in the laning phase right now.
Yeah, and they do get the heal out as well as the flash. So that's the Karma now having to play very safe and not having as many ways to bail out Caspian if a play goes wrong. So this is really, really good for Boruto and Lunar. It's not quite the trade you would get level 1, but still makes it harder to gank, makes it easier for Munchie to look down here once they get a couple more levels. Or perhaps even just if Caspian gets a bad push off and has the wave in an unfortunate state.
Yeah, I just wanted them to do something because I didn't get it last game. So I'm just happy they're engaging, right? They're trying.
Yeah, fair.
They once again have priority on this lane. That was the same as the last game. We saw them when they played up against Beagle Brothers, but they never really made anything of that. So it's a good call. Get a little bit of pressure. Allow this to push
coming
back.
down.
Munchie is coming down. There's still the chance here for Caspian, who has a Ghost, to get out, but with no flash and no heal from this Karma from Jean-Francois. And also wards in the bush. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, unfortunate. Good on Munchie to try, but just nothing doing there, as they will find Ultan in this bush eventually. Are we going to see a steal? We do. That's unfortunate for Munchie.
That's Munchie did the exact same thing in the last game to start things off. So, you know, I guess.
Are you saying this is just karma?
It's karma. Yeah.
Thank you, Gurf.
All right, I'm out. I'm gone. Later. Good luck.
It's
Have fun.
fine.
See you guys.
Hey, you had to solo cast the first half of game 1 after Verizon decided I couldn't play. So I'll take it back. I'll play my
Imagine
play
if
for a
I
bit.
left
I got you.
at 6 minutes, just gone for the rest of the game. There's a lot more damage coming out here. We do have the ultimate from Shocky now. See if we can
Both
get that new
jugglers
ultimate
are
play.
down here in the bot lane. Are we going to see some action? Munchie does get spotted by that ward in the middle bush.
Yeah, Not going to. Oh, it's the Hex Flash. No way the Dredge line lands. The passive also lands on a Caspian. That means the Flash is going to be burned out, and it's just too much damage. That just on the edge of range there for Hudo. It's going to be another Flash out of Munchie as well. Great play by TPG.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a disrespectful engage. Like, yes, for CCG, you are finally being aggressive and being active in the game, and that's fine, and proud of them for that. But sitting on Vision, seeing that TPG is playing so far back that it's impossible that it's anything but you being on Vision, and then to flash hook into turret, it just seems like so much of an overstep to me. I don't know quite what was going through their head.
It was, so I will say, it was like right on the edge of the turret, right? I mean, had it not hit him, I wouldn't have been upset that it didn't hit him, right? I wouldn't have been like, oh, he was totally within range of the tower. He was right on the edge. So I think it felt like one of those last minute, like, I can hit him, and he got him, and you feel good as a Nautilus if you hit the AD. But yeah, when you're that close and they have the jungle in play, it's just not going to work out. And especially when we're talking about, you know, the early game damage that we see out of Karma, the early game damage we see out of Varus. Like, the CC from Not is fantastic. Lunar's going to do some, but he's not going to do enough damage from the early game to really make that one worthwhile. Ooh, White Snow with the flash forward of the knockback.
No!
What a clean play. That was really pretty from White Snow. That was really well done.
Yeah, speaking of the edge of turret range, that was right there on the edge. Shocky has to be fuming over the fact that they just barely got clipped by that.
Yeah, and it was a perfect cue, the jump into that E. He's one of the ones I don't know all the names to because they change. I just know the letters. But getting that knockback, that was great timing. That was really well played. White Snow knew 100% that they just had the good positioning on that one. And Shocky did use the Ghost right before that fight as well. So that's both summoners now down for both of the top laners, meaning it's probably just going to be that little island that we're used to. And in the meantime, Tempest is going to make the first move on the first dragon and secure that one without any contests. That means CCG is going to focus towards the top side and go for Shelly.
Yeah, however, we do see Ultan roaming up here. Does have level 6, so we could see a big fight over this Herald. Scatter the Weak buys a bit of space, but this Herald is not falling very quickly. Ultan could get into range. Nope, they're going to give up.
It's taking so
no fun to be had.
That did take CCG a while. That was when you compare the and granted, of course, you know, the Dragon and the Rift Herald, they have different health there. But still, there's just a lot more early game damage right now for TPG. They're taking advantage of it. So now at this point in the game, CCG just has to kind of hang back, continue to farm, and, you know, make moves where you can.
Holy poke.
But yeah, that's the unfortunate side to this one. Is it's going to continue to be like that. The Karma hits really hard right now. And without Munchie being able to find any successful moves down to the bottom lane, this Karma's going to get kind of out of hand.
Yeah, and for CCG, on the plus side, yes, you built a hyper-scaling team. You're fine with just suffering through this early game, as long as you can survive and not fall too far behind. Problem is, the gold lead is currently 1,500. It's 3 kills to 0. You're starting to lose turret plates, and as those plates fall and the gold goes into the important pockets of White Snow and Caspian here, it's going to get worse. You can't fall too far behind even as the late game team. So they have to be careful here just to play it with a little bit of urgency.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these are champions where you're looking at, you know, late game Syndra is great. You're looking at late game Aphelios, but you're absolutely right. They're all in the, I mean, it's so hard to recover from those champs. I talked about Gwen, right? So Shocky has no problems, right? If Shocky falls behind, which you shouldn't fall too far behind. If he does, he's a Gwen, so he's okay with it. But you can't allow that to happen to the Syndra and the Aphelios here.
Lunar.
And this is a lonely Lunar out.
That was
the ultimate.
so
That's
greedy.
two ultimates down, but they're obviously going to pick up the kill very easily and get some more pressure on the bottom.
That's absolutely worth the 2 ultimates there. You're getting your carry ahead. Yep. Ultan doing a great job. You said you don't like the Maokai, but this is what the Maokai brings to the table: the lockdown, the engage, just the chaos. As Munchie going in very deep, they are probably going to find White Snow here.
Need to work the last. That was the last shot of the
There we go.
Okay, Snip is going to be able to do it. This is what I need to see. So, like, yeah, the Maokai does offer that, but that was Lunar under tower. Like, that was Lunar way too far forward. I mean,
True.
The Maokai offered the easiest kill in the world. Like, that's not really going to be the one that convinces me that Maokai's good. Sorry. But on the other side, CCG, I think they played that one really well. You know, it was the flash forward into that Cyclone. Rift Herald's going to come out now on the top side, so they're able to kind of balance out the damage that has been done to the bottom. But Lunar needs to find a little bit of stability here. And oh my god, look at that. Back to lane and back to no health.
It miserable to be the losing ADC in this lane right now. Just never having a health bar, having to play so far back. Use all your mana just to farm here. Lunar not enjoying this for now. On the other side though, Shocky with 4 turret plates in their pocket, having the full Riftmaker already is going to feel pretty powerful. Getting over that hump that the early game Jace brings to the table. It's gonna start being the Shocky show once again.
Once again, we're relying on Shocky for this one. Really good picks, and also, honestly, the only counter so far that we've actually seen is Shocky picking counters. Otherwise, CCG has really been putting priority into just picking champions that they think they want to play. They think are good. Ooh, no way. All right, now Mars not gonna get the kill on that one, but does a lot of damage, and there's no mana now here for Rain.
Yeah, Rain has been running out of mana very fast despite having had the Lost Chapter in pocket. Really trying to keep that lane away, trying to buy space away from the Cassante, and not finding success. So just not having fun. However, Ultan's very, very deep here and is going to have to be a little bit careful.
No way. All right, okay. Yeah, you got to sacrifice somebody here at this point, and if it's going to be anyone, it might as well be that support. That's an 0-2 and 0 support, though, and that would give the kill over to Caspian, who's 3-0-1. Bought the Youmu's after the second kill in that lane. So while Aphelios is doing a good job of, keeping up with CS, is less than 20 behind, not super bad. Basically everything that can be lost for CCG here is being lost. And TPG is doing a really good job of controlling the entire Rift at this point. They've got the second dragon once again with no contest. Everything that they focus on, they have been successful with.
Yeah, they've been doing a very good job of making this early game in their favor, taking advantage of the fact that CCG doesn't like playing early. And they are going to lose this bot turret as well, but not first turret, as Shocky was able to pick that up. Really splitting the map here. Shocky doing a great job early once again. Taking a ton of damage here, though.
Was trying to wait for Munchie to get in there. Munchie took the long way around. Munchie took the really long way around. And then you get a few seconds extra for Rain to have in that lane. But nothing accomplished here. And you gotta start figuring out where on the map CCG, can find their pressure. And they have to be really careful with Lunar down here in the bottom lane on his own.
Yeah, Lunar has overstepped a couple of times already, only really paid for it once, but you gotta see that ADC playing with their team. You can't step up, especially in the modern era where there's so much burst damage available to teams. And we see it with Caspian. Caspian is never alone, whether it's Ultan or Jean-Francois, just sitting beside that Varus. Somebody to help, somebody to zone, making the Varus' life easier. We need to see that from Lunar working with the team as opposed to separate from it.
I absolutely agree with that, especially when you've got this much pressure on you and, you haven't really been able to gain anything at the same time. You've lost a lot to the opposing AD. So CCG wisely staying together. The problem here is that if that's the case, they're going to have to stay together now to respond to this bottom lane pressure. They're going to have to stay together to also respond to this second Rift Herald. TPG now has a really good opportunity to get more pressure on the map. The last thing that CCG wants is for a Rift Herald to be in their back pocket.
Yeah, and unfortunately they really have no way to contest this after Munchie got poked out so heavily. Shocky is trying to go in onto White Snow, however, missing a bunch of the needlework. It does not make this any easier. Still running away. Can White
So
Snow
much
get out?
God. Oh, Gwen does so much damage. I think the ghost was popped a little late on that. I think if Shocky had popped the ghost at the very beginning of that fight, they could have had the kill because the flash was expended pretty quickly after there by White Snow, but all 3 shots of the needlework whiffed. That's not something you want to see, but it's Shocky. We are not worried.
Yeah, Shocky has been so consistent in team fights in the late game when you need to be. So cannot hate too much on that. But again, look at Lunar. Not with the team, just walking up. Yes, they have some visions. This is a little bit safer, but still, it just concerns me the lack of team awareness that Lunar seems to have right now. Not really working with them at all.
I think that's kind of what we saw. Unfortunately, it's kind of what we saw in the first game, right? Up against Beagle Brothers. That happened. All right. That's what we need to see. Some more good engages. And then, honestly, I just want to be able to see Munchie engage and not get killed as well. Even if he gets a kill, a lot of the time it's been him jumping in, they get something, but he ends up going down. So it's good that he's at least staying alive and not really feeding into this bottom lane here. More aggression onto Shocky. Gonna try to go in for Jean-Francois. A little too much from Oltan. So Shocky realizes that they gotta back out of this one. That slow's not gonna help though. There's the second dash. Out comes the ultimate. It's so much damage. It might be enough. Shocky is going to go down to Oltan, but can the rest of the team make something happen? We got 2 teleports coming through, and the rest of CCG is there. Out comes Unleashed Power. The flash forward by Luna. The flash forward by Berhudo. There's the ultimate as well. On 2. No way, jump no. So low, but the ignite is going to take it. There's another dredge line perfectly locking onto Oltan. Sure, you know what? Karma, you got away, but we are more than happy with that one. Let's take a look at the replay.
This was beautiful timing being bought by Shocky. Bought so much with the safety zone. Enough time for the entire team to rotate in, for Marine to get down there. White Snow can't TP into the face of the team like that on the Jace. You're too squishy. You're not allowed to do that. And the massive depth charge forcing both Oltan and Caspian to stay out of that fight for just a little bit longer. Real unfortunate there. Oltan falling in the back, getting split off. Just exactly what you needed for CCG to get a little bit of the momentum back in your pocket.
And they needed it. that was kind of that was almost like a make or break point, right? It feels like if that was a fight where CCG just completely fell, that could be the big pressure.
Well, here's another fight that's really important.
But this one is equally important. The root's only going to hit Shocky, who's on the front side, still engaging on this dragon. Out comes the needlework. Out comes the cyclone. Oh my lord, the damage onto the Karma is insane. Needlework onto the backside. That unstoppability is going to do a lot of damage. Rain has to stay safe here. The dragon's still engaged upon. Brutal.
They don't have a smite.
For another dredge line chance. Come on. Oh my goodness. No. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of confused that Berhudo didn't try to just at least get a dredge line, pop the passive, and then walk away.
Yeah, you would think that they would do something there to try and disrupt Oltan, give Shocky a chance to steal, but without having Munchie on the map, it becomes so much harder to make that fight happen. But
we gotta pause.
Still really good. Yep.
It was good, but I was waiting for it. We saw, I don't know who it was exactly. We saw like the Cassante or somebody walk into that bush, and Nautilus was right there, the easiest dredge line ever, like super easy. And all it would have taken, because that whole time Shocky was still on the dragon, right? Shocky was continuing to engage it, didn't get the reset out, and then was trying to just burn down that last bit of damage. And if Nautilus was lower than half health, sure, I'd say it's a little too risky. But the fact that they had already taken down 2 members, right, and they didn't have the smite, I think it would be worth the attempt at least. Throw the dredge line. 1 auto, you get the passive. That's a couple seconds of crowd control at least to offer more damage onto the dragon. And
that's
even
fair,
if you lose the support at that point, but you get the dragon, if you stop the stacking, that's worth it at this point in the game, in my opinion.
Looks like the pause has been cleared, so we're going to be heading back into the game here shortly. I do think that that's a good look for CCG, though, mostly because of the fact that Nile Mars wasn't able to get anything on the backside. Yeah, there were some bad choices towards the end of the fight, and yeah, they lost a 3rd Drake here, But Nile Mars got in deep, and this is not a team that's scaled up yet. They only have one item. You would expect the Cassante to be able to cause some chaos in the backside of the fight, but he wasn't. They properly zoned, they properly bought space, and they were able to cut him down. So that's giving me some good hope that as we start moving into these second, third items, it'll get even better for CCG, and they'll be in a great spot to take this game back.
For sure, that definitely feels good, because when you consider that when we looked at the gold graph last time, the only player who had a lead on the side of CCG was Shocky, and now we see one as well on Rain. You know, at least a 500 gold difference right there. And we can see that at least Aphelios Lunar has been keeping up, right? When we're looking at the CES, you kind of expect with how much pressure there has been from Tempest Gaming in the bottom side that Aphelios would be farther back, but no, doing a really good job of maintaining that. And as an Aphelios, that's all you got to do. Try not to die, get some creeps, literally watch the clock tick down.
Yep. It doesn't matter how bad lane phase is, as long as you can survive. Speaking of surviving, Shocky has reached the point where they no longer have to survive. They have 2 items, and White Snow is now more or less powerless in the side lane.
This is one of those, I love Gwen. She's one of those champions where it's like, there is no question. Gwen, you get Nashers, you get Riftmaker. That's never changed ever since she was released. And once you have those 2 items, you're online. I really like that security that you have within Gwen. Cassante kind of has felt that way, but so far with how the game's been going, it's not appearing that way by Tempest, which is a really good sign for CCG.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Interesting fight being taken here as Ultan rushing in at the speed of sound, but it looks like everybody's going to peel off just fine. We've seen a lot of Tempest posturing around this Baron here. CCG isn't biting, though. They're not worried about the fact that they don't have vision. They're not worried about the fact that so many members are off of the map, because they don't think that Tempest can take this. This could be an opportunity for Tempest, or it could just be another chance for CCG to keep scaling up.
The gold has just slightly edged in favor of TPG. CCG had like a couple hundred gold lead up until a minute or 2 ago, but kills are even, towers are even. The main thing that TPG has over CCG right now is the dragon stack, right? We're looking at a mountain soul here, which is going to be really helpful going into the team that CCG has. Honestly, it's helpful for both of these teams right now, but it's going to be something that needs to be staunched by CCG, because if that's what we're looking at, if we're looking at an even game across the board, except for TPG having this one advantage, you have to stall it. You have to stop the advantage. You can't just expect that other things are going to turn your way.
Yeah, but they're in a much better position to do so now.
Oh,
All
yeah.
of their main carries have reached 2 items. They're finally able to really take fights. So when that Drake comes up in just shy of 100 seconds now, I'm going to be expecting CCG to really try and turn on the afterburners here. Another good Cyclone engage, like what we saw Munchie do in the last Drake fight, would absolutely blow this fight open for them.
Let's see if we can get something like that out. Shocky pressuring his bottom lane. Shocky has had the experience and level advantage throughout pretty much this entire game. Has been the first one, I think, to level up at pretty much every single time, which is a good sign here for CCG, especially when they're focusing on pushing down towards this mid lane. We have a minute left on the next dragon, so if this mid tower can go down on the side of TPG, CCG will feel a lot more comfortable trying to position for that.
Yeah, I almost wonder here, based on the way that the map has been laid out for TPG, whether they're considering a neutral swap here. They might not be super concerned about picking up this Mountain Soul on Drake number 4. With all of the vision and the movement pressure that they've been putting around this top side of the map, they may be considering just taking the Baron here and trying to win through pressure.
But look at those wards on the bottom side. You see that triangle? The only better way you could have it is if you also had a ward on the backside of that red bush, right? I honestly think that this is a way that they have kind of poised vision, specifically to attempt to at least retaliate if TPG makes a really quick move onto that dragon. I mean, at 25 minutes in, though, you really don't want a soul to go over to a team that's also scaling.
Sorry, I think I misspoke. I'm in agreement. I'm wondering if TPG is going to give up the Drake.
Oh, so TPG and CCG sound very similar. Oh,
Yeah,
all the E.
here,
It's the
if
E
blue
letters.
will give up the
Yeah.
Drake. That a
There
little bit
we go.
better.
I
Blue
see.
and
Okay,
red.
I misunderstood. I misunderstood there because I'm like,
No,
yeah,
no, no.
that's really
We're on the same
yeah,
page.
we're on the same page. All right, excellent. That's good to know because we're supposed to be, I guess.
One would hope.
All right. So now we see Shocky trying to maybe look for something over the wall to poke something down and across. Good positioning from CCG. That means that they are waiting for the reactive play coming here out of Tempest Gaming. There it is. Out comes the ultimate from the Maokai. That's several roots, and it's so much damage as well as the Chains of Corruption here onto Nautilus, who's just taking way too much. Rain has to flash away, but barely stays alive thanks to breaking vision there. Shocky gonna pick up the kill on Denial Mars, and CCG just losing the support. We got a... Whoop, whoop. That's all right. We're good.
Yeah.
We got a little blip.
Yeah.
That's just
Riot
that's
servers,
just the universe taking a
they're
breath.
running on potatoes still, you know? Haven't upgraded to turnips quite yet. But all jokes aside,
Upgraded
huge.
to turnips? You think turnips are an upgrade? I've never once been like, yeah, no, I prefer turnips over potatoes.
Hey, you know, potatoes are great, but turnips were used before pumpkins as jack-o'-lanterns, so they're better in my book.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, well, you learn something useless every day.
Yeah, however, on the other side of the map, Tempest is going to try to get this Baron, and with Munchie too far away, they're not going to be able to stop it, but they're going to start the fight anyway.
Close. They tried, and unfortunately, the rest of the team is just way too far back to do anything. The TP on top of that means that they have to get the heck out of dodge. Rain misses the, oh no, Scout of the Week, and Lunar's really trying to pop out as much damage as possible, but that was just too little too late. 1 second earlier, CCG might have taken that one.
Shocky
up against 3 members. You know what? At the end of the day, Shocky has exposed an inhib. It's not the best case scenario by any means, but Shocky's consistently like the saving grace for this team.
Yeah, I mean, Shocky's putting pressure down, but I would have much rather had the powerful member there as a part of that fight to try and take some of these Barons off. The health bars were low. Munchie got a good Cyclone, but there just wasn't any follow-up. It was too far ahead. If the Gwen had been there, been able to follow, it might have been a little bit better for CCG.
But the question is, would the Gwen have actually been in the fight, or would the Gwen have also been just too far, just slightly too far behind, you know, because that's the other side.
That's
of it,
very
right?
fair, yeah.
Because the team was there, right? The rest of CCG, had they been there a moment earlier to actually go on the Cyclone, it would have been beautiful. It could have been really anyone. Shocky obviously is the one that you definitely want to go in on it. But, you know, you risk the, would he have actually gotten there? Maybe, maybe not. He definitely got the tower, though.
That's fair. And the tower does get a little bit of gold back in pockets. They're only down 2,700, which at 27 minutes into the game, that's next to nothing here, Jolly.
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised. It honestly doesn't even feel like it's been almost 28 minutes in this game. There's
really
been a lot going on. It's like the opposite of the last game. The last one, I'm like, oh my god, how long of my life have I invested into this?
Pulse has been gone for 3 years. I've been alone.
Yeah, no, this one, there's been so much action. Both of these teams have been really working on making both proactive plays and reactive plays, which is something that I, talk about and touch on pretty often, because situationally one is better than the other. There's no like rule to it. You just have to kind of determine what you can do. But both of these teams are kind of flipping the script really, really well. So CCG now just has to maintain this for longer. We're at that late game stage, right? Once we hit that 30 minutes, you got a minute and a half left until it's essentially considered, the top of late game. And CCG, this is another kind of breaking point that we saw towards the beginning of the game around the Dragon Pit.
Yeah, I really have to commend CCG for how they've stayed alive as a big fight starts out of nowhere. Okay, the Maokai ultimate's really coming in clutch here. The needlework, unfortunately, doesn't hit anybody. It's a really good push by TPG. Nobody ends up going down, but I'm getting kind of scared of these health bars. Yeah, those health bars got a little bit low out of nowhere. I do want to comment on what I was trying to say there before a random attempt onto Caspian's life, which did manage to get out the ghost in a few major cooldowns, so something for CCG at least. But they lost next to nothing off of that Baron. They lost a mid-tier 2 and a top-tier 1. Considering that this is a 28-minute Baron, that is not bad at all. You would generally expect to be at least breaking into the base with a Baron at this point in the game. So for them to have held up and withstood it that well, feels very good for CCG at this point in the game.
Yeah, a really small, like, in terms of a power play for that Baron, it was incredibly minimal. Even the gold differential, right? We're only looking at like 3K. At even 15 minutes, 3K isn't a massive deal. At 30 minutes, 3K is nothing, right? 3K is less than a fight potentially. It's like accumulated bounties. So it's just so up in the air right now. That's kind of the scary thing, is because TPG has been engaging on these fights so well and responding to like the positioning of CCG so well. Any of these fights could result in that push towards the Nexus. And it looks like we have a little bit of a separation here. We know that's the clone. That means that Munchie's going to have to run off on his own. CCG is separated. TPG has priority on the Dragon again.
Yeah, this opens up the Drake and makes it possible for them to get sold. We do see Shocky TPing in with the team, but they're late, and they will get rooted up by the Chains of Corruption. This is going to be a very hard fight.
Every single time, it has hit everyone. It's so much damage there. Shocky's going to be able to barely stay alive. Rain does take that one down. The Dragon falls. CCG, they didn't lose everything, and they're going to try to go for this mid tower as well.
Yeah, Munchie's trying to buy some space for the team here. I don't know that they're liking this as Munchie's going to go down.
Yeah, and then Bruno, as the dredge line's going out, is like, uh-oh. Ends up getting a little bit of a pop back from the Jace, so thank you very much, Jace. But then he jumps back in, picks up the double kill. And this is kind of what I was talking about. When it comes to engagements on these fights, TPG has just looked more confident, and therefore, the plays have just been cleaner, right? They're trying to rely on Shocky with this side lane pressure, which when you're talking about side lane top laners, Gwen is absolutely one of the best. But he's just not able to accommodate the lack that CCG has, right? To kind of fill that empty hole that is slowly, actually now at this point, relatively quickly, getting deeper and deeper and giving more favor to TPG.
Yeah, I mean, again, the goal difference is 1,600. The goal difference doesn't matter. But they lost another fight. They lose more pressure. They lose the Ocean Soul. And critically, it doesn't feel like either Rain or Lunar are really online. They're both at 3 items, but they really haven't felt like they've had an impact on this game just yet. We really need them to step up and help take some of that burden off of Shocky, as we see another Baron started up here by Tempest, looking to claim that. Shocky is on the other side. We'll probably break an inhibitor for this, but is that a trade that CCG can really afford to take?
Yeah.
Wait, they're going into the mid lane. They're trying to end the game.
They're pushing for the win. There's a recall coming out of everybody. They're able to get one inhibitor. Unfortunately, just one lane.
Munchie couldn't stop the backs.
Now. Yeah,
unfortunate.
That would have been spectacular if that second inhib was taken, because that's 2 lanes now that have super minions that TPG is going to have to deal with. And they have a pretty quick clear, but not the quickest in the world. So that is going to help, at least with bottom. And like I said, they're really trying for Shocky. Like, Shocky has been the saving grace all day today. And he's doing a really good job. But once more, like, is that going to be enough here? We're at 33 minutes into the game, and TPG is able to easily collapse on to the base here as well on CCG. We're going to take another quick pause. Hopefully just another quick one. It's at such a scary point in this game right now. It feels like it has suddenly been like, yeah, TPG's winning, and now it's like, I just watched TPG. Like it feels like it's kind of been leaning towards them, like it's been angling towards them, and CCG has just kind of been holding on for dear life, finding little bits, but it just never feels like, oh, okay, that's it. CCG did it. You know, they popped off. This is their opportunity to come back. Haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, haven't found an opening yet. Shocky is behind, though. They're looking to try and make this the fight to win. But with the poke coming out, the Gwen just can't get on, and Lunar's already at about half health. The wave's pushing in. CCG has to find an angle, but they just can't. Look at those health bars. Yeah. They're already gone.
And, you know, when I said earlier, too, I'm worried about the health bars, I actually wasn't talking about the low health bars for CCG. I was talking about how much health is stacked on TPG. That, and then when you watch how quickly they're able to burn down objectives, it's too much resilience and it's too much damage. Look at that. That's I'm assuming that was, you know, a passive enhanced Q right there. But I mean, that's just too much damage onto Rain, who is offering a lot of the damage for CCG. So the damage dealers for CCG can't get anywhere close, and TPG is just able to poke everyone down. Now we go in, there's the Cyclone, but look at how quickly the burn comes through. Down goes Rain, it flashes out as CCG have to surrender underneath their own tower and attempted a dredge line to grab Ultam, pull him underneath that one and take some aggro, but no, it's instead super minions pushing forward, not super minions, sorry, Baron enhanced minions pushing forward. That's going to be one inhibitor down. CCG needs to do something right now, but they don't have a ton of damage. They're getting locked down. Lunar has to flash out of this one. Finally, the needlework comes through. It ends up taking down this Maokai. Can they continue the fight, though? Shocky looking to re-engage, but it looks like Tempest Gaming is just too quick. Actually, no. Look at that. We're going back in. Jean-Francois says, hey, you know what? Why don't I just bait this guy? And
in the base, though. Shocky's in the base. Shocky's trying to end it.
The turret is in a blip. Oh my god. Oh my god. Shocky has a lot of survivability, has taken aggro, is going to break that aggro though by using stasis. Shocky now going for white.
It's not enough.
Get taken down. It's not enough. In the meantime, though, Niles finally might be dropped here. Lunar is able to stay alive, just barely. Has to be so careful here. You've got the front line, Bruno, and there it is. Unleash the power. Cinder able to pick that one up. Of all the situations that could have been, honestly, that is the best possible scenario for CCG. I'm not gonna lie. At this point, with the way that things are going, that is, if CCG is gonna win, it's gonna be a backdoor.
Yeah, but this is now a surprisingly dangerous situation for Tempest. Yes, you have 2 inhibitors broken. Yes, you have the pressure. You have all of the wins in the world here, but you have an exposed Nexus. If someone gets back there and Munchie or Rain or even Lunar with a well-placed ultimate are able to stop the backs just long enough, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to find kills. You just have to stop backs. Tempest has to play very carefully and be hyper aware of the mini-map and their own base right now.
And the good thing for CCG too on the other side of that is TPG has been really resistant. They've been waiting till the last moment to get that recall, right? I mean, we only had 1 recall to stop Shocky. Eventually there was a second member of Tempest that recalled. But you know what? If TPG is that distracted by trying to fight on the backside instead of escaping from a fight and retaliating or responding to Shocky at the base, then that's great for CCG. Continue to distract them. Continue to let Shocky go in. And there it is. The Cyclone comes out onto the backside. No clone is going to hit. There is a scat of the week, and it's a lot of damage onto Jean-Francois. And is it enough? Lunar's doing a lot. Almost is in a dangerous position. Nobody actually responded. It means that Rain has to back off. Rain goes back in. There's the one. Nilemar's gonna fall here. It's a huge play. What is going on here? There's no way. This is it. This is the game. No.
It's only Caspian. He can't stop them.
He cannot stop them.
I cannot believe this, Jolly.
There is no... How did that happen? And did you see who was on the front side of that fight? Lunar was on the front side of that fight, and nobody went in on him. I mean, that was a ballsy play by him. He's on the front side. All it took was one person to jump. TPG, they hiccuped. That was the most crucial hiccup of the game. They honestly, that's not what I was expecting. Again, I literally called it. I said, if CCG is going to win, it's going to be a backdoor. It's not going to be just a team fighting to push. And TPG was just so out of position on that one. That, honestly, I'm not going to lie, up until literally the last second of that game, I thought CCG was going to lose.
I am 100% with you. It seemed like Tempest was just playing better. And when they picked off Ultan, I thought that was the end of the fight. I thought they were going to take that. They had 10 seconds until Elder was up. I thought they were going to go back and get Elder and try and stall a little longer, scale up even further on Lunar and on Rain so that they could do something. But instead, Munchie, fearless, going back in, just more and more and more on the fight. Absolutely incredible there. The unwillingness to lose by CCG feels great and gives them a win moving into day 2.
It gives them a win, and it gives us a really good idea of who, you know, the power player, who the focused player really is on this team. And I gotta say, it's Shocky, right? When it comes to both games, Shocky had blinders on. Shocky was, I mean, really focused on how they could maintain themselves in both the first game where CCG went down, and this second one where they were able to take it. So at the end there, though, I mean, it's every single person has had a moment this game where they stepped forward and they really did what could have been a dangerous play. Like I said, there at the end, you saw Lunar. Lunar was like this far away from Cassante, and Cassante was like,
absolutely.
Should I? And Lunar's like, all right, cool. I can get another couple autos off. That's going to push them back further. And it allowed for the re-engage to come through. So I'm really impressed with this team, CCG. I am really excited about tomorrow and looking forward to that. We have 3 games then, right? Not just the 2 that we saw today, so even more of an opportunity to show off. But it's a really good sign. We saw a lot of improvement even just over 2 games. I would say the biggest thing that I noticed, the biggest growth that I saw from CCG is the move towards cohesion. First game and even the beginning of this second game, it felt a little bit loose, right? But at the end, everyone was on the same page, and that is what's most important. So I'm impressed. Tempest played that really well, though. Big props to Tempest Gaming. It's an unfortunate day for them. They're going to end this one 0-2, but we've got more games tomorrow. It's a Swiss bracket, so there's going to be a lot more action coming up.
Yeah, props to Tempest. They are the strongest 0-2 31 seed that I have ever seen. They looked great.
Yeah, I agree. All right. We unfortunately are not going to have an interview today. Hopefully tomorrow we get that set up. So if you guys have any questions for CCG, keep them in your mind, or, I guess you can ask them on Twitter. Really, I suppose if you got a question, you can just ask it. You don't have to wait. But we do like to include some of your guys' questions in those interviews if possible. Thank you so much for tuning in tomorrow. When do we start tomorrow? Same time. All right, cool. Good to know. I should know that stuff, but luckily I have a producer in my ear. So 1 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 5 p.m. Eastern. These are rolling starts. Of course, it has to be in agreement with all the teams, so it may or may not end up starting a little bit before those set times. Either way, keep an eye on things. CCG, looking up and up. This is the first time I got to work with you. I think we did pretty well. I had a good time.
Hey, it was a blast, I appreciate y'all being willing to work with me. Thank you, Verizon, for making my life difficult, but it's always great working with some of the best folks in the league. Y'all have been incredible, and I'm looking forward to working with y'all again soon.
Absolutely. Are you going to be with me tomorrow?
I have not confirmed that yet. I may be with you, or you may have somebody else.
It's a surprise. It's a secret. I will be back tomorrow to call the action here for CCG. No matter what, it was a pleasure casting alongside you, and I hope to work with you a lot more here soon. No matter what, guys, we're going to see some more of CCG kicking butt tomorrow. Be here 1 p.m. Eastern time. Once again, best of ones in the Swiss bracket to start out the summer qualifier. Number 1. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Gurf, our awesome producer. You did a kick butt job back there, and we'll see you next time.